Hello everyone. Today we are going to work on the rose for the Beauty and the Beast project. But before we get started, you got to check out my wonderful chocolate cake. This is actually my birthday cake, and today is actually my birthday. Well, not really when you're watching this, it'll already be gone, but the day I'm filming, it's my birthday. And so I just wanted to show that. And of course, I have to post a picture of it here because it is the most beautiful cake you will ever see. This is like my fourth piece today, and so I'm gonna eat that while I'm starting the project. But let me bump up here and see where we're gonna start. All right, so I've got this shoe goo. It's a glue that I'm gonna use, and hopefully it will work because I cannot seem to find my super glue. I don't know if I'm out or if I've just misplaced it. The rose itself will be made out of clay. The stem will be this little green wire, and I'm going to wrap it in floral tape. I've got this little leaf here that I'm going to cut up to make the leaves. I think it needs a couple of those, 2 or 3 leaves. These little babies are going to be included in this project because, see, we're making a table that this dome will sit on. Well, not this giant one in front of me, but a little mini version. Now here are the glass bales I've picked out. And there's 2 different sizes. I'm going to look to see. I think this one is the better scale. So he's going to be our little model. Of course, he's the perfect little model. I've got some pearls. My niece let me borrow these. They are in this amazing little unicorn container. Because back on the top of the bale, the dome, there are some little round decorative pieces. And for the legs of the table, I've got whatever these are, and there's a couple of those. And for the main part of the table, this is the top. I've already got it cut out. It's just a couple of pieces of cardboard or like a cereal box. And then for the other part of the table, we got these little drawer pulls, like little doorknobs that I think I can put together to sort of create how it looks in the picture. And let me do this right here. Maybe I'll remember to post a picture of that table. So anyways, let me get it thought about here a minute, and then we'll get it started. All right, so I guess I'm going to start by taking these knobs apart because these little gold leg things, again, I don't know what those are, but that's going to be the legs on the table. And I'm kind of looking at that picture to kind of just rig something together that looks similar to what that is. And instead of like sculpting it from clay or something, I just went to the stores and just kind of randomly picked out some things that I thought would look good together. So let me do this. All right, now when I held this up together, I thought it was going to be way too tall, but after I got it in front of him, I thought that's really low, like really super short. Because that's like a little tiny low table. They're going to have to like bend over to get to it, but it's going to be layered up. And I'm going to actually use one of these little bolts that came with the knob. And I've already drilled a hole in the middle of whatever this gold thing is. So that's going to go down. I've not put all this together, so I really have no idea how it's going to turn out. But I'm going to screw that down until it gets to the bottom of that bolt. And then I'm going to have something kind of like that. So there's the little table and the little legs of it. And that just was like a perfect fit. It looks like a little flower. And then I'm debating if I want to put them both on there. And I think I might actually. I'm going to just screw this other one down on there. Alright, so there's both of them on there. It makes that pretty little flower. That is super cute. You could actually use that as a little drawer pull, but we're not making a drawer today. So, alright, so the bottom of that table, I've kind of got this little picture back here that I'm looking at in this book. Let me bump that up so you can sort of see it. which is that same table that I posted the picture of. So the bottom kind of looks like this. So we're going to go uh, with that. And this little piece here came with it. And I'm kind of going to keep that on there. There you go. See, it keeps wanting to focus on the background. So I'm going to put this down like that. And then put that piece down like that. And then I'm going to do this piece. And then I am going to do the little babies right here at the top, because there's these little naked people at the top of that table. So I thought 3 of these little babies glued to the top would be perfect. And they're going to be what's holding up the top of the table. And I can't really hold them in place because they're like really fidgety, but I'm going to get them glued on right here. And then let me bring Gaston back and see the height of that compared. Oh my gosh, that is so perfect. I mean, it's the right height. And then the little tabletop will go on top of them. Okay, well that one just ain't gonna stay up here. So here's the tabletop. That'll go on there. And that looks really weird, but I'm thinking and hoping that once it's all painted the same color, it's going to look pretty good. But this right at the moment is kind of like, what in the heck is this? It's kind of cool looking. But let me glue these on, and then we'll put the top on and we will paint it. But one more thing I gotta think about. I need to drill a hole in here because I'm going to run a light up through the table to go inside the rose. So I've got to remember to do that. So let me do that. And then I've also got to put, I'm going to put a, let me see, what am I doing? I'm going to put a hole in the middle with that pin, kind of somewhat in the middle. And that's where the flower or the rose will come up through there. Now where'd my wire go? Oh, here it is. So I'm gonna, let me go ahead and run that up through there. All right, so there's our rose stem, and I'll make it long enough to, put the rose on the top, and then I'm going to bend a little bit underneath the bottom and glue that just to where it'll stand up really good and not fall over. All right, so I'm gonna let you see the gluing of the babies. And I got a little bit of that shoe glue, and it holds pretty good. I mean, they stick there really nice, and I think I got enough here. Just get a little bit on his little butt, and then I don't know if that's enough to really hold it or not. Let me get a little bit more. All right, so I got a lot more on there, and I'm kind of glad I'm doing this. This is like 10:30 at night, and it's like perfect time to be sitting here eating that cake, but not really. But if I can get these glued, all right, now sit up there. I got to make sure it's kind of level. I don't want it to not be level. That looks kind of awesome. I mean, that does look like some kind of a fancy little statue that you would see in a castle. And then, of course, get it painted. I think it'll look really good. Now I've got the toothpick here just to help kind of smudge that glue around so you don't really see the glue. And this is kind of like E6000. It's probably the same thing. It's got that same weird smell. This thing's gonna go sit outside here in a minute because I don't want to smell this all night, especially right here by the bed. But all right, so that looks pretty good. Now again, I want to make sure they're together. I may stick a little bit of that glue right on their heads. I want to make sure they stay together really good. I feel really confident about the whole structure. because it's got that bolt going up through it. And this glue will hold really well. So I'm going to glue this, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just stick that top. No, I can't glue the top. I'm going to have to glue the top. I'm going to have to do the light going up through it before I can glue it down. So I'll go ahead and just do this part. And then tomorrow in the morning, after this is dried good enough, I will do the top of it. So while that table bottom is drying, we are going to pull out these lights. Now this pack of lights back in there is what goes to the window. These lights are leading to Gaston's fireplace, and I've got it pulled far enough out to where this light is going to be up in the rows, and then there's going to be two down on the ground, and I'm just going to paint over those with some black paint later so that you don't see those. And then it's going to have to run back down again, which is going to actually put another one there. So let me just shove all that back in there. All right, so let's see. Here is our tabletop. I'm going to actually build all of this before I even get the table in here. So what's really important is I'm going to have to bring in the bale and decide exactly how tall this has to be, because I don't want the flower to be way up in there like that. If you can see that, I've got to make sure it's down in there where it ain't too tall. Okay, so just seeing that right there is so freaking exciting. I am so excited about this little part of the project. Let me see. I think right about where I'm holding it is where I want it. So I'm going to go under here with this super strong tape. This is just like that silver duct tape that I use on everything. It's extremely strong. So I'm going to put that there. No, wait, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. Okay, I want to tape it like so far. I don't want to tape it all the way to the edge because it needs to kind of run to the middle. I'm just trying to get it to where it's not going to move on me. Like, I just want to kind of tape it kind of more like right there. I don't think I'm getting this videoed very good, but anyway, there it is, and I've got it bent over, but I'm going to double check, make sure it's not standing too tall. That's going to be so perfect. Now I'm going to also real quick, I'm going to try to be careful with that light. I don't want to bend it so much that I break it or anything. I think they're pretty tough. There's the little light. And you have to click them like 50 times to get them to go off. Okay, so I'm going to put one more. Oh crap, why did I do that? I'm totally forgetting the stem of the rose, and you're probably thinking I could just use the wire to the light, but that light wire is so easy to bend. I just want to get something in here that I know is going to be really strong and make it stand up good. And plus I need that green wire sticking up there to attach the rose to. I mean, I just want it to be a pretty stiff little wire. So let me see, get that there like that. And I'm going to do the same with this. I'm going to snip that off. Okay, so snip it. I'm going to bend it just a little bit. I think it'll tape down better. And then now I can tape over the whole thing, and that'll help keep it from pulling through the bottom. And then I just need to kind of twist those together. And then there it is. And then I'll put the rose over that here in a minute. I got to be real. See, I've got to bake the clay, so I'm going to have to, like, first of all, get this back there to where y'all can actually see what I'm doing but I've got to make sure that I bake the rose to where it'll still go down over that light. I can't forget that. And for the leaf, so that's our little stem there. And for the leaf, this is just a little fake leaf. I'm going to make a couple of smaller leaves out of this just by cutting it. And then I'm going to attach them, kind of glue them to that stem. And then I'm going to wrap that stem in the floral tape so that it'll have a green colored stem. All right, so now you can really see that. I've got closer to where you can see what that actually looks like, and I think it looks so good. I cannot wait to see it done. See the little rose on there, and I had to be real pretty with the table and not mess that up too much because that is the table that you will see. And then the hole is a little big, but it had to be big to get that little tiny bulb through it. So to hide that hole, I'm going to put some petals, like little rose petals down there. And I just thought of something really good. Oh my gosh, I just thought of the perfect thing. So the little roses on my birthday cake, I think are going to be the perfect rose for this. I'm going to go grab one and see if it's small enough to go under that dome. And then that would like totally keep me from having to make one. So let me go grab one of those real quick. All right, so here are the little roses that came off of that cake, and I'm gonna pick one of the cleaner ones. Um, oh my gosh, I mean that could not have been more perfect. My mama, I don't know if I said this, but my mama surprised me with that cake. I did not know she was getting the cake, and I was so excited when I seen it was Gaston. Oh, holy cow, that is like the cutest little thing I've ever seen. So I think what I'm gonna have to do though is kind of snip it to where I can fit it around the bulb. I may have to take each little, oh, I got some icing on my finger. I've been sitting here eating that cake, and that chocolate is like the greatest stuff ever. But I think I'm going to have to take it apart and snip each little petal kind of to where it'll work around the bulb. Let me go ahead and do one the way I'm thinking it's going to have to be done. So I took it apart, and let me see, just kind of snip it like this, and then just kind of feed that through, push that around. I may have to glue each one as I do it. I may have to start with the center petals. This is the bigger bottom petals, but I think that's going to work so good. So let me go ahead and throw this together. I'm going to go off camera to do it because this is such a fidgety little thing to do. Okay, so I've got it to there, and then I think I'm gonna put I punched a little hole in this because it needed to be way bigger, but I'm gonna stick this last one on there, and then I think it's gonna be perfect. And boop. All right, there we go. But that looks so good, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna paint the stem a little bit with some Mod Podge, just so that floral tape doesn't start to unravel. And then I can't forget to put a few petals at the bottom. All right, so let me see here. What I already know I'm not going to like about it is it's going to be really a bright light. So what I'm going to do to tone that down just a little bit, since I've got a little bit of glue down in there, I may actually put a little bit more. Okay, so I put a little bit of glue in there, and I'm going to go over the light with this little bit of red, uh, what is this, tissue paper. That's going to kind of tone down that brightness of that light because I don't want it quite that bright. So there, that white glue will dry and look a lot better. But there is our little tiny rose, and again, I'm going to paint that stem. I'm going to pull that leaf down because it's kind of got stuck to the stem. All right, there we go. I'll paint this up, and then I'm going to Mod Podge it, and then I got to paint the tabletop too, actually. Whatever color I do the rest of the table, I got to get the tabletop painted before I glue that bell over the top. And I'm not going to look at the bell yet until I get all this other parts done. So it's the next morning, and this is what I got done last night. I think it's the most pretty little thing. And then I went over it with this really fine glitter just to give it a little sparkle. And that made it so magical looking to have that little bit of sparkle on it. And then it lights up, of course, and it looks so good lit up. And I've got the tabletop painted the color that I want it to be. Of course, I've got the petals laying down there, and it just looks super good. And then here is the base of the table. I think that actually looks really, really cool. I'm going to take this out and get it spray painted, and then I'm going to go over it with the color that I did the tabletop. So this is a little lumpy down on the bottom, so I don't know how flat I'm going to get that, but I tried to run those wires both the same direction. Let me just kind of roughly, I've cut a little slit in the top of the table, you can see there, so them wires can kind of go down. But that's basically how our table will look, and I kind of want to find some kind of a little trim to go around the edge. I don't know what I'll use for that yet. And then it's going to sit up in there. And then I have been so nervous about that glass bale. I just about dropped it today, so I'm trying not to get anywhere near that until I just need it. But that looks really crazy. It's not, I don't know, I think the wire's pushing it over, but of course I'm going to glue it down. And I think once it's in there, it's going to look pretty cool. So I'm going to get the bottom painted and get it glued together. And then we'll do something, try to figure something out about covering up these extra lights. And of course, the curtain will hide a lot of that, but I still don't want that light to shine through the curtain. All right, so here is the base of the table. I think it looks pretty cool. And what I did is I just painted that with a color, sort of that green color. It's like the only color I had. And then I spray Mod Podged it. And now I'm going to go over it with that same tan color to match the top of the table. Okay, so I've got the base painted and I'm going to let that dry. And I think what I'm going to do now while that's doing that is I'm going to actually go ahead and add the portrait of Prince Adam. And I've got this little cute little frame here that I've had. And I took the glass out of it and I've cut a piece of foam board to go in here just to have as a backing. And then I've, of course, just printed this off. Now, I did find this image on the internet, and I had to go, there was like a red curtain halfway covering this, so I had to go in here and digitally add his shoulder in, and maybe, I think I did some over on this side too, because the way the curtains were kind of blocking it. So I had to go in there and Photoshop out those curtains and stuff to get the full picture, but that's going to go right in there. And I had debated if I even wanted his portrait in here because he's such a little bratty thing. I mean, he ain't some cute, charming guy like Gaston, but and I also wanted just the rose to be the focal point. But I think holding this up in the display, it just looks so good, and I do like it hanging in there. And the curtain will kind of come over and block part of it anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over this with some Mod Podge to make it look like an actual painting so that it'll have some brush strokes in there and it'll help protect and strengthen the picture. And then after I do that, I'm going to claw it like the Beast clawed the portrait in the beginning of the movie. So let me go ahead and slap some Mod Podge on here, and then we'll get to do the fun part of clawing his little face up. So I got the Mod Podge on there, and it's got a better little texture to it, and it had some sort of a reaction right up in here. I'm not sure what it did, but it's okay. It looks pretty cool. So now I'm just gonna figure out where to do this. Oh gosh, this is kind of weird. All right, just gonna claw him up here. And that looks kind of wimpy. That's not much of a, that's like a little scratch. It's not like a bee stripping into it. I feel like I'm going to rip it the wrong way from how I'm wanting to do this. All right, that's kind of, oh, wow, that looks crazy. But let me see. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Wait, let me get the razor blade. I'm not wanting it to, like, I want it to pretty much scar him up, but that's kind of how it was. I remember in that one scene, Belle comes in and she has to kind of fold the painting back up. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of cool and funny. Um, I'm sure Gaston would approve. But let me see where I lay the frame. Okay, right in front of me. I'm sitting here working with a camera. Wait, let me do foam board's a bit thick, so I gotta slide them in together. Wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing. Good gosh, I can't even get a picture in a frame. Let me try this. And then maybe try this. It's just that foam board so thick. You know the little Funko Pop on my birthday cake? I took that off last night and I cleaned him off. I cleaned off the icing and I can't even find where I put that. My whole family has been looking in this house all night, and even when I got up, we were here looking and we still cannot figure out where in the heck that crazy thing's at. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do, it's a little bit short up and down, and to keep that from sliding, I need to glue it to that foam board. Oops, I'm holding it out of frame. So see, it's going to slide down if I don't glue it to the foam board. So let me do that, and then I'll put it back in there. Okay, so that looks so awesome. I actually am so in love with that. And the frame is so cute and fancy and gold, and it looks so similar to what was around his portrait. So I'm just going to glue this to the wall later in the video. I don't know which side I want to glue that to, but it's super cute and I love how it's turned out. And so I'm glad that I've decided to go with including that into the project. And then all right, I guess the table's ready to glue together, so I'm going to glue it together, let y'all see it. We'll age it up and we'll add the dome. And then there's one more little thing that I want to do back on the other side of the castle with the stained glass window. All right, so let's check it out. So far, um, what I did is I, of course, put the table together, which I think looks amazing. I went over that with that same beige paint, and then I went over and just kind of misted it with this hammered silver, and it almost gave it a marble look. And I'll get, of course, closer pictures of that at the end of the video. Um, and then I'm going to go over that with some black watered down paint just to age it up a little bit here in a little while. And I've got it hot glued down here. It looks so good. I am so excited. Now, up on the very top, I cut a hole in it so I can go down in through the top of the entire project instead of going through here to access the lighting. I'm going to start going in from the top. So the little piece I cut out from the top, I've glued here because that's where I think the picture might look best, is right in the middle. I just think that looks amazing. So I've got the curtain up so you can sort of see my little what I've got going on. Now the wires, of course, run under the table, and they're just kind of going back through there into that little opening. And the curtains will hide that here in a minute when I let them down. And actually, I'll go ahead and let those down. They'll just hang back like this. And I guess I need to split this one because it has to sort of straddle that wire back there. So we'll put half of it on one side and half on the other. I'm going to rip it to make it look ripped instead of cut. And then we'll just shove all that back in there. That hides the wiring. And oh man, does that not look amazing? I'm amazed by the table. I mean, just going to the store and just randomly picking little pieces to put together. And then, of course, those little babies. I mean, everything just came together so good. Um, so what do I need to do? Oh, yeah, and see that little piece of foam board, uh, which actually I just said it, I think. That's kind of going to give me a backing. I'm going to, oh, I see what I need to do. I need to rip this one all the way up because that needs to open up into here. And I'm going to leave this one all the way down. Let me just take this one up out of the way a minute. I'm kind of glad I've got two layers of the curtain. So I'm going to place this one exactly how I want it. Hot glue this little dude up here onto that like that. And then I'll bring back down that other curtain. And once I do that, I'll glue the bell down. And there's one little detail I got to do to the top of that bell. But let me go ahead and grab all this and get this part done. And then we'll check out the little bell. Okay, so here it is. Now I'm going to make you wait to see the bell at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over and do the other little thing that I wanted to add to the stained glass window. All right, so the last thing I want to add to the other side is there was in the beginning of the movie during the prologue when the guy is telling the story about how the beast becomes the beast. It pans in. You see the castle, and the camera starts to pan in on that, and it kind of is going through the forest, and there is a little bird's nest um, sitting in a tree, and I just think it is the cutest, sweetest little thing. So I have chopped up some little grass. This is just some grass out of my yard. And I'm going to just mix a little bit of Mod Podge, or not even Mod Podge, but this tacky glue, which the tip of my glue bottle is clogged. And I don't usually let that happen. All right, so put a big old glob of glue there. And then I'm just going to mix that grass in with it and make a little bird nest. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't know if it's going to look like a nest or what it's going to look like, but I'm hoping it will. And then in the movie, that scene has these, I think it's got 2 or 3 little blue eggs in the nest. And I may actually need a little bit more glue. Now, I tipped over this little bowl last night and dropped half my grass out into the floor, but I still think this is enough to do it. Actually, that might be enough glue. I want it to kind of set up kind of quickly. I'm just going to keep fidgeting with it to where it sets up to where I can kind of mold it and shape it. So if the glue's too runny, it'll be harder to do. But I think I've got it pretty good. But I'm going to, I kind of know where I'm going to put the bird nest. And of course, the bird nest is not on the side of the castle. It's in a tree. But I just wanted to include that little nest into my project because I just love it so much. But I think that's going to look pretty cute. Just kind of glob it up, make a little indentation. I'm going to bring it over here to a part of the plate where it ain't quite so gluey. And I might actually put just a little bit more in there because I want it to hold together really well. So I'm going to sit here and fiddle with this, and then we'll see how it turns out. All right, so I had to use 2 of these little sticks, and I think I've got it to looking pretty good. And there's a little bit of a dip in there for my tiny little eggs. I'm just going to throw me in some little eggs made out of clay and paint them blue. And once that dries, we'll decide where to place it, and then we'll check the whole thing out. Here it is. Oh my gosh, I feel so stupid saying this, but I got a little tear in my eye when I did this, just because this project has been really sentimental to me because I loved it growing up, and it's my mama's favorite, and I mainly making this project for my mom. So I can't wait to get it done. I wished I could have it done by the end of the month because that's her birthday, but I know it's not going to get done that quick. But I am so excited to bring this to life and to just see it come together. I am so pleased with how this little table has turned out. It looks so, so good. And then there's a couple of pictures I took of it where the top of it looks so much like marble, and I wasn't even trying to make it look like marble, but that looks so cool. And then these little dead vines are kind of reminiscent of the vines on the other side where it's the pretty roses, but this is the side where he's the beast and everything's dark and gray and dead. I think I might should add another vine or two over here on this side, maybe. But I think the reason why I didn't actually was because in the pictures you only saw one or two over here. But it looks so good, and I'm so glad I did put the portrait in there because that's a lot of space there to not have anything. It looks so good when it's lit up. And again, this was one of my favorite movies also when I was a kid. I mean, there's a picture of me and my brother, and I'll try to post it here with our little VHS collection behind us. And the only two princess movies we ever were really into was, of course, this one, Beauty and the Beast. You can see it on the rack of our movies, and also we were crazy about Aladdin. So that's the only really two princess movies I ever remember really watching as a kid. But Beauty and the Beast is so amazing, and for some reason I've gotten even more into it currently because of Gaston. I'm like, he's my absolute favorite character. And my plan for this project was just to be Gaston's Tavern, and then it turned into like a four-sided thing, which I'm so glad I've decided to do that. Um, so, anyways, I am so happy with it, and then I'm gonna flip it around here. I may get a little bit closer here to where we can look at this, and then we'll look at the little bird nest. All right, so here is a little bit closer look, and I again am so excited that I was able to use that rose from my birthday cake, so that adds another little personal touch to it. And all them other little tiny red roses are going to be used at the very top. When I get done with the project, there's going to be like a little piece on the very tip top up here that's going to have pictures around it of all the characters, and then I'm going to use those little roses around the border of that. All right, so here is that tiny little bird nest, and as you can see, it is smaller than a penny. I used this in the pictures to compare the size. Now, if you go back to the very beginning of my video, it shows it starts out with a picture from the movie, from the prologue, and I just love that scene, and that's where it kind of shows the little bird nest. So if you go back and check out that picture, you'll see that tiny little bird nest, and I just loved it, and I just wanted again to include that in my project somewhere. And again, it's sticking here on this column, so I just thought that was the perfect little place for it. And plus, with the four different scenes I've done, it's like the only outdoor scene, so it had to kind of go over here. But I absolutely love that part. When this video is done, go look up Beauty and the Beast prologue and listen to him from the clip from the cartoon. It's only like two minutes long or something, and listen to the guy explain the story. I've just always loved that part of the movie. Um, if you noticed, my penny says 1991. That's actually the year the movie came out. And back when I did my Hocus Pocus videos, I used a penny, but it was from 1993. That's the year that movie came out. So I'm always weird and want to use the penny to the year that the project is. But anyways, I hope y'all have enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.